Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Sammy from the Biostatistics Learning Group. I hope that you enjoyed the last session and will progress in learning about secondary data analysis. So the third disadvantage of secondary data analysis, that one that's probably most concerned to psychologists, that is the measure in these existing resources, are often abbreviated because the projects themselves were designed to serve multiple purposes and to support a multidisciplinary team. Many of these datasets have impressive breadth. Many constructs are measured, but with associated costs in terms of depth of measurement. Construct may be measured by only a few surveyed items. For example, at least two of us are very interested in global self-esteem, and it's exceedingly rare to find existing studies that have administered all 10 items of the widely used self-esteem scale known as Rosenberg 1965. Rare that it's quite common to find studies that administered a subset of Rosenberg items, such as uh, this study in 2010 and 2003, or a study that administered alternative measures of self-esteem that are unique to that project, such as the ADHEL dataset. See result textbook. This fact can create concerns among psychologists who are used to evaluating studies based on the entire set of items associated with conventional measures. Measurement concerns are therefore a major issue in secondary data analysis. These issues frequently require some amount of defending in the peer review process. For example, short forms tend to have lower levels of internal consistency than parent scales, given how the alpha coefficient is calculated. On the other hand, this reduction does not always mean that predictive validity of the given scale will be dramatically impaired. On the other hand, short forms may have reduced content that they end up assessing a much narrower construct than the original scale. Thus, basic issues of reliability and validity are of paramount concern when conducting secondary data analysis. Are they valid? Are they reliable? Right? So researchers who do not have good grounding in secondary data, in psychometric, might be frustrated because they're not able to carefully evaluate trade-offs in reliability and validity. However, for those researchers with even basic quantitative training, or for those willing to acquire this training, the analysis of existing data is a useful skill to have in their toolkit. A fourth disadvantage is that it has to do with the potential for phishing exercises, searching for significant correlations instead of testing hypotheses that can be undertaken with existing resources. Different researchers will find this concern more or less compelling given their views on statistical significance testing. We list this as a disadvantage because colleagues, tenor review committees, and reviewers might be among those researchers who are extremely concerned about the potential for data exploitation. Our view is that all findings need to be replicated and the actual risk associated with phishing are often overstated. That is, there seem to be little reason to dismiss findings from secondary data analysis simply because of concerns in increased type 1 errors. The data have an important story to tell, regardless of how many articles available also that have published from a project. The fact that the resources are often publicly available also help to counterbalance phishing concerns because the others are able to verify the robustness of the results across different ways of operationalizing the variables and different ways of formulating statistical models. The fifth disadvantage is a practical one that can have a real consequence for developing academic careers. There is real possibility that originates original data collection might be more highly regarded in some fields and some departments than others. This can be a significant disadvantage for new professors looking to build a strong case for tenure or promotion. Local norms vary widely across departments, and the best advice is to be aware of the local culture. Our view is that academic departments should have or should value scholarly contributions regardless of whether the underlying data were newly collected or whether they were extracted from a publicly available archive. We hope that this perspective will become more widespread as more and more psychologists engage in secondary data analysis. On a related point, most existing data sets are correlational in nature, and this places considerable limits on the causal inferences that can be drawn from these analyses. The fact this fact may affect the extent to which secondary data analysis is valued within sub-disciplines within psychology. On balance, however, we believe that the advantages of secondary data analysis often outweigh the disadvantages. Accordingly, we are convinced that this is a valuable approach to research for psychologists to learn. This book is intended to make this argument by showcasing important research findings that have emerged from secondary data analysis and to provide an introduction to the key methodological issues. We endorse the perspective of strategic replication, or the idea that the scientific advances occur when the researchers submit hypotheses to a number of different tests using diverse forms of data. To the extent that findings replicate across different forms of data, researchers can have increased confidence in their verisimilitude. Likewise, failure to replicate findings using large and diverse samples often afford the opportunity to learn about the boundaries conditions for particular propositions. In short, we believe that the analysis of secondary data sets has a definite place in psychological research. It's one important way of testing empirical hypotheses and thus can contribute to the development and refinement of theories. So we'll conclude this session here, and we'll continue in another interesting session. If you can kindly follow up on Twitter, that would be great. Thank you so much for your time.